Namaste, and a heartfelt welcome to this webinar that I felt so passionately to give to everyone on the whole subject of this topic that's so important during this wild ride that we're living through right now, which is how to find peace, joy, meaning when the whole world is in chaos. And how could it be that our most painful emotions could be the doorway to heal our lives, to find a deep sense of inner peace? And so this is a topic that I feel that we all need to dive into and really find how it is our most painful emotions can lead us to profound healing and deep sense of peace in our lives. And we've been living in a time right now that has been wild for the last 3 years nearly, what with the pandemic, the lockdowns, loss of life happening, illness. I've had COVID twice during this time. And then we've had the energy crisis, Ukraine war. Now we've got financial crisis, inflation happening, and climate crisis with floods and mega fires. And it just seems like everywhere we turn, all of life's circumstances are conspiring to create a huge amount of stress. And while all of us were in lockdown, it's not as if life gave us a manual. How do you deal with all the emotions that rise up when we are in lockdown? And so, of course, we're all of us asking, how do I get out of this stress, the fear that I'm feeling, and the defeated way I feel, to find a sense of peace, to feel at home in my own skin? And so that is a topic that is very dear to my heart, because the journey is an emotional and physical healing method that was first born from my own direct experience of healing from a basketball-sized tumor in only 6.5 weeks' time. And part of the gift of my own healing journey was I found a method, a very practical, down-to-earth method, where you can go on a journey inside your body and get to certain cellular locations and uncover the consciousness that's stored there, the cell memories that are stored there, the buried emotional pain that is stored there, and go through a very deep and profound, quite radical process of release and letting go and forgiveness, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And what we know about the cells and the body and our emotions is this: science has found that when you feel a strong emotion and you repress it, it releases a quantifiable biochemistry into your bloodstream, which will go to certain cell receptors and block them, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body, which is what they normally do all the time. And if over time illness happens, obviously it happens where the cells are blocked. Conversely, what's also known to be true is that when we feel our emotions very openly and freely, naturally, like a child does, our cell receptors remain open. And so what the journey allowed me to do was to go on a journey inside my body to get to those old repressed cell memories, that emotion that I had buried long ago. And one of the things that we've all been doing during the pandemic is that as soon as an emotion comes up, what do? Drink it away, smoke it away, call a friend, get on Netflix, get on Facebook, search the web. Is almost anything to get out of feeling that emotion. And as the emotion gets stronger, we begin to shut it down. And that's when that biochemistry is released. And it goes to those cell receptors and blocks them. And so part of what the journey enables you to do is to get access to those deeply buried cell memories, those old emotions that you didn't have the coping skills to cope with, and to finally go through a process of release and letting go and healing. And now here we are. It was 1992 that I had a tumor. And, we're here in 2022, so nearly 30 years later, and this work is being used in 39 countries by medical doctors, by psychiatrists, and people from all walks of life. As a matter of fact, there's 3 hospitals in Israel where after you've undergone, let's say you have a heart operation, or you've gone through some sort of chemotherapy or cancer treatment in the oncology department, or you have multiple sclerosis. After you've undergone your medical treatment, they then have you go into a recovery center where you get to the emotional root cause of what co-created the illness in the first place, and you undergo the journey process. So this is work that we can all undergo. And I first began to realize how important it is for all of us to embrace our emotions, to allow even our most painful emotions, that you can find a deep sense of inner peace in the very core of your most painful emotions. And it wasn't long after I healed from that basketball-sized tumor without drugs or surgery that I was sitting with an enlightened master, and we had just sat for meditation, and we were just sitting there, in a deep sense of peace. And one woman raised her hand and said to the master, she said, I'm not feeling all this peace that everyone seems to be feeling. She said, I'm feeling anguish right now. I'm feeling tormented right now. How am I supposed to feel all this peace that everyone else is feeling? And the master said an unexpected thing. She said, just don't move. Just stay still and open into the very core of this pain that you're in. There you will find the peace that you are seeking. Now, when this master said this, I thought, wow, that's a radical thing. I mean, I'm trained as a therapist in the world. And, if you go to a medical doctor and tell a medical doctor you're full of anguish, they'll prescribe, medication for you. You go to a hypnotherapist, they'll want to find out what past life caused it. You go to a psychotherapist, they're going to want to psychoanalyze what could have caused this anguish. You go to a body worker, they're going to want to find out what physical block is there that's causing this torment to happen. Everyone in the medical field and in the health field are all focused on the same thing, trying to fix that so-called bad emotion. But this master didn't say, fix it. She said something much worse. She said, go into the core of it, and there you'll find the peace that you're seeking. Now, I have the deepest respect for her, but I couldn't take this on face value, not unless I experienced it to be my own truth, something that I experienced as being true. And so I went home and I decided I would take 5 days and go into silence. And I would go after my most painful emotion and feel if, in fact, I could find this peace that I was seeking. And I had said to my husband, who was on the East Coast giving a seminar, I said, listen, I'm going to take 5 days and go into silence and just investigate whether what this master said is true or not. And I decided to pick the emotion that was most painful for me. And I'd done so much work on myself and in my life, being in this field of personal growth, alternative medicine, and being a therapist. And it was a feeling that no matter what, I was driven to have to be there for people, to care for them, to lift them up, that it was my job, that even if a client of mine called me at 3 a.m. in the morning, I had to hop out of bed and be there for them. And okay, it's a wonderful thing to be there to help people, to care for them, to lift them up, but not if it's moved from something healthy, because all children want to help one another, to something that I would actually call a compulsion, where I was driven by it. Even if I got ill, I was still driven to have to be there to support people. And so I decided I would use this most painful drive. And I went over to my answering machine and I put a message on there that said, hello, this is Brandon. Listen, I'm taking 5 days on a silent retreat. Please call me and leave a message at the sound of the beep, and I'll get back to you on Monday. And as I got ready to turn the answering machine down, this panic started to rise. What if my daughter calls and she's in an auto accident and I'm not there to hear her phone call? What if my husband needs me and he's on the East Coast? What about that client that has suicidal depression? And all this panic was arising. And I caught myself at my own game. I thought, Brandon, you've been to India and been in monasteries where for 3 months no one could get hold of you and you were in silence. You're just panicking because you're having to face the worst emotion that you can imagine facing. And so I turned the answering machine down and I made a vow I wasn't going to receive any calls for help and I wasn't going to offer help to anybody. I was just going to really allow myself to open with this emotion. And so I sat down in the chair in my living room and I closed my eyes and I thought, what is the feeling that's really here? And, you know, if I can't help someone, what am I really feeling? And out fear came flooding and panic. And my mind was going a million miles a minute. And I thought, no, I'm going to meditate first. And for those of you who meditate, you know how effective that is with your mind going a million miles a minute. And I caught myself again at my own game that I was using a strategy to avoid feeling the emotion, like all of us are doing right now. We're watching endless series on Netflix and on Prime Video, and we're constantly online and engaged, and it's everything to avoid feeling the emotion. And so I was using meditation as a means to avoid feeling the emotion. And I said, stop, Brandon, just get real here. What is the feeling? And again, the fear just came flooding up inside of me. And I can tell you, I wanted to jump out of my skin. I wanted to run away from that fear. And I didn't know this, but I actually had fear of feeling fear. And we all have this. It's even some of you wrote about it in the little note that you sent to me, that there's fear of actually feeling the fear. And so I did not succumb to my running away from the fear, and I decided to finally open into it. And when I stopped fighting the emotion, something just let go, and I fell into a deep feeling of guilt. All the people I could have helped never helped, didn't help. And again, I was overwhelmed by this guilt. And I got it. This is not a time to be fighting what I'm feeling. It's a time to open with what I'm feeling. And something inside of me just let go. And I fell into a deep loneliness that it almost felt like the room itself was lonely. And I thought, well, if there's no one here that needs my help, and no help is being given, or no help is happening, then what's even the point of existence? And I fell into a deep despair and a feeling of pointlessness. And I asked myself the question, well, what if this helping game weren't allowed? And who am I without this helping game? And something just let go, and I fell into this vast field of nothingness, of blackness. And there was a black hole in it. And this terror came up that if I went into that, because I'd seen what happened every time I just let go an emotion, I went to a deeper emotion. But here I ended up in this field of nothingness with this black hole. And I was terrified that if I went into that, I could cease to exist. I could die. I could lose my mind. And so I got very rigid and I fought and fought. And time went by and I was using all my will to fight, letting go into that nothingness. And finally, the question came up, what if I were never to leave this, hovering over this nothingness? And somehow that seemed worse than actually meeting what was in there. And I asked myself, well, who am I without this helping game? And some part of me just let go. And I began to expand in this nothingness and dissolve in this nothingness. And then the whole room was filled with light, omnipresent, embracing me everywhere. And it was so bright. I opened my eyes to see if I could see it, but it wasn't an external light. It was an internal light. Somehow, unexpectedly, inadvertently, I'd fallen into a vast field of peace, of love, that I realized was omnipresent, pervading all of existence. And I looked at my life and I thought, wow, what a joke my life has been. I've spent my whole life trying to find this inner peace, trying to help others, to serve others in healing and becoming free, all along just to feel a tiny modicum of self-worth and a little bit of inner peace. When all along the peace that I had been seeking wasn't out there. It was here. Unexpectedly, I had fallen into my own soul. And I realized my soul was pervading all of existence, that it's an eternal, timeless presence. And so if I had to say, what is the journey really all about? Best way I could describe it is a metaphor. Is to say that we, all of us, come into this life as a radiant, shining diamond, absolutely whole, completely free, as a vast field of peace. As a matter of fact, science will tell you that when you are born and a young infant in the first days and weeks of your life, you feel yourself to be this omnipresent presence of love, a field of love, of awareness that's so vast that when mother's hand comes before an infant's eyes, the mother's hand is experienced as being part of the infant. That's how vast this infinite field of enlightened awareness is that you came in as. But unfortunately, through the natural course of life's pains and trials, this radiant presence, this love, this joy that is your own essence, it gets covered over with a series of lies, shutdown, and pain. And it can be something simple, like you're 3 years old and you're crying about something and mom says, oh, come on, got to dry your tears. We've got to get to kindergarten. And the first thing that happens is an involuntary automatic shutdown happens. Oh, I'm not allowed to feel, at least not those ones that have the tears. And that first lid gets put over your emotions, or it can be the kind of things. I know I came from a domestically challenged household, and the way I would escape was in my children's books. And so when I was in the 3rd grade, 8 years old, I got selected to do something that we call a spelling bee in the United States. And I was to represent all the 3rd graders in our school at a big county-wide spelling bee for all the elementary schools coming together. And so we were all in a stadium together, the parents, the teachers, the students, and thousands there. And I'm there and I'm standing on stage, and I've already spelled 3 difficult words. And then they gave me probably the most simple word in the English language, the word fleet. Now, I'd never seen that in any of my children's books, but I had seen the word flea and insect. And I said, F-L-E-A-T, and the whole audience was hushed. And all at once, it erupted into laughter. Now, no one had given me a manual. How do you deal with mass humiliation in front of your friends, your peers, their teachers, your parents? And I looked to my mom, who was sitting in the 3rd row, for support. And she looked at me as if I was the greatest disappointment in her life. And she just shook her head and went, and it was like this internal wall just came slamming down inside. And I retreated to the back of the stage where the other losers were. And I realized how stupid I am, that people would only ever laugh at me, that I'd never be good at anything I did. It's like this layer upon layer of shutdowns. When I was 16 years old, I fell in love. I got a crush on this guy, and it was my first crush. And I tried to impress him. And of course, you know, I made a total fool of myself trying to impress him. And I watched the first love of my life running out of my life. That day, I decided I'm so unattractive, I'm so worthless, that no one I'm attracted to will ever be attracted to me. Layer upon layer upon layer. Then when we get to be adults, all of us, we cover this whole mess over with like this mask that we present to the world of, no, I've got a handle, I'm dependable, I'm reliable. And then life gives you a wake-up call. And these wake-up calls can come in so many forms, can come in the form of a loss of a loved one, or a pandemic, a loss of a job. It can come in the form of a divorce or serious illness. For me, it came in the form of that tumor, where for one moment, I decided to get real. And I cracked through this hardened veneer that I'd been presenting to the world. And it ended up spontaneously opening down through the layers of the lies, the pain, the shutdown, and eventually opened into this vast field of love, of light, of peace that I realized had been there all along. Only like all of us, I bought into the layers that covered it. And then if you get to be very lucky, as I have been more lucky than I could possibly thank grace, life, the universe for, you fall so in love with truth inside of yourself, with this peace, that like me, you will do anything to clear whatever blocks you, whatever obscures you, whatever shuts you down. So if I had to say, what is the journey? It's about getting real. It's about opening down through the layers of all the limitations, lids, shutdowns, and pain, and opening in a direct living experience into this field of peace and joy, this freedom that you came in at. And it's at that deepest level, at the level of the soul, that you turn the torch on inside. And you go on a journey inside your body to specific cellular locations. And you uncover the cell memories that are stored there, the old repressed emotions, old unspoken words. And you go through that deep process of release and letting go and forgiveness. So when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So as you can see, the emotions are in fact your greatest friend. The very thing that we've been pushing away, smoking away, drinking away, this getting on Netflix to avoid, calling a friend, going to the movies, all these emotions that all of us been shutting down and running away from are actually the gateway to your soul. So I can't take you into a full-on journey process as much as I would love to do that right now, because that takes place at a 3-day journey intensive where you really learn how to roll up your sleeves and dive in and undergo this profoundly life-changing and liberating and healing work over a 3-day period of time. And you get a chance to not only experience it, but to offer it to others. And my prayer is when you finish with that intensive, you can give this liberating and healing work to your children, to your parents, to your friends, family, because none of us were given a manual how to deal with all the stress that's been coming our way in this pandemic. But our first tiny baby step that we can take towards beginning to befriend our emotions is to first begin to identify them, to welcome them, to embrace them, to listen to our bodies, to really listen to what our bodies have to tell us. So that's the beginning, just the tiny steps towards beginning to heal with your emotions. And so I'd like to take you into a little guided introspection right now. You can think of it as doing a little divine experiment or meditation, where we're going to go inside our bodies to specific parts of our bodies and to really welcome whatever feeling is there or words, whatever the body wants to communicate, because all healing first begins with you beginning to listen to your own self. I don't believe anyone outside you can heal you. I feel part of your healing journey is that you uncover your own truth, find your own wisdom, go through your own process of release, forgiveness, letting go, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness. And though that's not something anyone else can do for you, it is something you can be embraced and experienced through someone else's support. So I can't go through that whole 3-day deep immersion of the journey intensive, but I can at least take us into this guided introspection. So if you'd like to join me, let's take a nice deep breath in, letting it out, and closing your eyes. And taking a deep breath in of openness and breathing that into the room. And a deep breath in of the willingness to meet whatever your body wants to reveal to you. And breathing that into the room. And trust. Breathing that into the room. Now letting your heart be as wide as the world. A vast open sky of all acceptance. And into this open sky, the welcoming of all the emotions that live inside of you. Even your family's emotions. That's how vast this vast open sky of all acceptance is. It's vast and spacious and free and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly vast and spacious behind, and free and endless to all sides of you. And you're just resting here in this presence as it. And now turning your awareness inside your body. And you already know this. The body is full of all kinds of emotions and feelings. And it's like this container containing all these emotions and feelings. And some of our feelings, they're like little kids. They're loud and attention-seeking. Others of our emotions, they're shy and hesitant and a little bit scared of us. And there are many emotions that we've rejected and pushed away so many times that they don't even come up anymore. They hide behind closed doors or underneath lids. So just putting out a heartfelt welcome to all the feelings that live here inside of you. You might even say you're sorry for having pushed them away. And right now, locating somewhere inside of your body where you're feeling a little bit of tension going on or stress. Maybe there's a place where there's a little bit of contraction or holding or perhaps hiding going on. Find that area where there's that tension. And now take a deep breath in of acceptance and flooding that area with acceptance and letting it soften the area, marinate it, tenderize it, kind of open it up. So taking a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance and letting it soften and open up. And if there were a feeling starting to arise out of that area, what might that feeling be? Might be as quiet as a whisper. So just allow whatever feeling's starting to arise here. Or if it had words and could speak and you gave it a voice right now, what would this feeling say right now? Let the words arise in your awareness. And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. And taking a deep breath in of acceptance and just flooding that area with acceptance. There's nothing to fix, just allowing that emotion and coming to neutral inside of yourself. And then finding a second area where you may be holding a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that area. Take a deep breath in acceptance. And now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and open, be marinated and tenderized. And if there were a feeling just starting to spontaneously arise out of that area. What might that feeling be? And if this area could speak and had words, what would it say? Give it a voice. Let the words arise in your awareness now. Or perhaps a picture is just arising out of nowhere. If there is a picture, step into it. How does it make you feel emotionally? Or maybe there's a lid somewhere, like something's blocking that emotion. There is a lid. Take hold of it. And like you would with peeling the lid back off a can of peanuts, take hold of the lid and lift it off right now. What's hiding here? Just take hold of it, lift it off. What's hiding here? How does it make you feel? Welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. And taking a deep breath in and flooding this area with acceptance, nothing to fix, just this willingness to allow emotion coming to neutral. And then finding yet a third area where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that area now, and with your intention with the breath, take a deep breath in of acceptance, flood that area with acceptance, softening it, opening it. And if an emotion were starting to just spontaneously arise out of that area, what might that feeling be? Might be as quiet as a whisper. But if you open, what feeling is here? What might it be? Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say? How do the words make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here, whatever's not here. If there's a lid somewhere, take hold of it, lift it off. What's hiding here? Welcoming whatever's here, whatever's not here, and taking a deep breath in of acceptance and flooding that area with your own love, your own presence, your own awareness. And now come to neutral. And if it feels appropriate, you might like to make a commitment to your body, to yourself, that you're going to begin this process of really listening, really welcoming emotions, that you're willing to listen to your body, what it has to say, the pictures it reveals, and to allow yourself to embrace whatever feeling is here. So if that feels appropriate, to make that commitment, to start listening to yourself and being present, taking a nice deep breath in and letting it out. And the awareness remains vast, spacious, free, and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly spacious and free behind you. It's infinitely free and endless to all sides of you. Boundless below and sky like above. And you're just resting as this vast open sky of all acceptance. So that eyes open or eyes closed, same. Taking a nice deep breath in and sighing it out. And another nice deep breath in and sighing it out. And you can open your eyes now into this awareness, into this vast field of presence. Taking another nice deep breath in, letting it out. And if the eyes have not yet opened, this is your invitation to open your eyes now. You can open your eyes now. So, the first step in healing with our emotions and with our bodies is this befriending of our emotions, this embracing them, allowing, being present to ourselves. And I'm wondering, even though this was just a little divine experiment, just a little toe dip, what were some of the feelings that arose for you? If you had an emotion come up, what came up for you here in just this little exploration that we did? You can write that in the chat box. And Gabby, the managing director of the Journey International, she will share them out loud for everyone. And so if you did uncover some feelings or emotions, what was there? What did you uncover? And Gabby, I don't know if you're, if anyone's typing anything or written anything.
Sorry, I've just slowly, feelings of rejection, sadness, disappointment was from Ariel. Profound
For some
fear.
reason,
And
she's not able to be heard. Maybe she's not unmuted yet.
I am unmuted.
So the main thing about these emotions is that we discovered even just in this little exploration, this guided introspection, is connected to deep cell memories that are located in your body. And until you really go through a deep journey process of going to the location of them and uncovering the cell memories that you've buried and really get a chance to release the stored pain, the unspoken words, the shame, the blame, the hurt, the fear, and go through a process of actually understanding what's happened to you in your life, and then coming to a place of forgiveness of yourself, of God, of life, of the other people involved. Until that has happened, unless you've done that full clearing, then that old emotion will keep rising up for you. And so it really is an invitation, I feel, to all of us, not from me, but from your own soul, to dive in, to go on a journey into your own self. And at that deepest level of being, at the level of the enlightened awareness, at the level of the soul, to turn the flashlight on, the torch on inside, and go on a journey inside your body to these specific cellular locations, to go through this profound process of healing, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So one of the reasons that in lockdown, we all got triggered is that these cell memories are already buried in our body. And no one gave us a manual how to deal with being in lockdown. And suddenly we were getting triggered. Let's say you're in your car and you're driving and someone cuts you off and boom, out of nowhere comes up the road rage. Well, that person didn't come in the middle of the night and stick the rage there. All that person did was push a button and up came the rage that was already stored inside there. And so what happened during lockdown is our buttons were getting pushed all the time and triggered. And these deeper buried issues that we so successfully tucked away, ran away from, denied, avoided, and suppressed, they all came up. But the good news is that the journey can give you the means to finally get to a place where you come to a profound place of peace. Not just with that emotion, but with whatever issues are stored inside your body. And so with all my heart, I welcome you to come join the Journey Intensive that's happening online right now. And it's happening as a 3-day deep immersion where you go through deep teachings, meditations, process work with me. And then in the afternoon, you partner up with a partner and you have a one-to-one process undergoing the emotional journey one day, the physical journey the next day, and learning the advanced skills the next day. And my prayer is that with this profoundly healing work, that it doesn't just leave you washed clean, but that you have a toolbox that you can take into your life to use for any emotional, physical issue you might have, and can use with your friends and your loved ones to clear their issues and to take the lampshade off their light. And I was kind of blown away. In September, the Journey team came to me and they said, the world is in such chaos right now, and everybody needs this work. And this 3-day seminar, which they normally offered at $497, they've reduced all 3 days to 97 euros or dollars so that everybody can afford to do it. Because I feel my deepest prayer is that through doing this healing work, people come home to the peace inside themselves, not as a pretty notion or as a spiritual concept, but as a direct living experience, that they come home and feel at home in their own skins. And so I just found out today that they're, right before I got online, that they're actually having 2 journey intensives, one in Europe and one in Australia this coming weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And if you feel that you've been living in stress, getting triggered, and you feel a deep longing to come home to the peace inside, that this is the most powerful gift you can give yourself, is the gift of finding peace within and having a set of tools to handle whatever other issues come up. And the beautiful thing about these journey intensives is that we have journey practitioners supporting it there. And so when you're working in private one-to-ones, and let's say you have a question come up for you, you raise your hand, and a journey practitioner who's been through a year-long training and 6 courses, completed 45 case studies, they're going to come into your room to hold an embrace of support so that you can undergo and clear your deepest issues and come to that place of peace inside. So it's got a huge embrace of support. And at 97 euros, it's never been priced for all 3 days at that, not even 30 years ago when we first began. And so this is a tremendous gift that our team is offering to the world, so that if ever there were a time to heal, they're wanting you to get these powerful healing tools now. And if you want to know more about the journey and what takes place in a journey intensive, or even find out, is this right for me? Maybe I don't feel like I'm emotionally ready to undergo something so powerful and liberating. And so you feel like you need to chat to someone one-to-one. You can do that and find out what's right for you, because I always feel with the journey, this is a calling from your heart. And it has to feel like your heart feels called to finally get real, to finally break through this mask that we've all been presenting to the world and open down through the layers of the lies and shut down and open into the infinite love, peace, joy that is your essence. And at that deepest level, letting your soul guide you to cellular locations, to clear, let go, free, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So I welcome you with all my heart. Talk to somebody about it. If you have questions, have a chat with them, or just enroll. It'll be a weekend, all 3 days, that will change your life. And there's also going to be one that's taking place in January and throughout the spring as well in the United States. So just check all that out and listen to your heart. This is not work for people of casual interest. This is people with a sincere prayer for freedom, for liberation, for healing. So I pray I see you there and at upcoming events. And until then, a heartfelt namaste.